Hello, and welcome back to the Oracle on Purpose podcast. I'm your host, Leah Dunlap. And today I really want to take the time to share with you a little story about why you might actually find that affirmations don't work for you. So, here are 5 reasons that affirmations may not work for you. And in fact, I would say these are 5 reasons that affirmations don't work for most people, and why over the last 30 years, I have found a way to help people shift from generic affirmations to powerful affirmations that actually do what they're intended to do, which is to help you shift your mindset and to retrain your brain about certain beliefs and thoughts that may have kept you stuck in the past or repeating a story that is no longer useful. So if that sounds good to you, stick around. We're going to go through this process. But first, I want to talk about why oftentimes affirmations in general don't work. So, for many years in the New Age community, people have lauded the idea of doing affirmations as a way to transform yourself and to transform your life or your business or what have you. And even though that, of course, is something that we can do, right? We can change what our mental conditioning is. We can change the way that our brain works around certain things and topics. However, oftentimes, typical idea of an affirmation doesn't work because it's simply not powerful enough to change your brain. Now, it's not that your brain is broken. So when I say your brain, it's really about the fact that it's your brain patterns, your habitual thoughts that we have to address, not just a generic idea of happiness or peace or prosperity or organization or, being able to speak to people or confidence or all these things that people will pull affirmation books about, affirmation, 101 affirmations for living a whole and wonderful life. These are great, right? But they're not as effective ultimately as something that's personalized. So the number one reasons that affirmations don't work is that they're not personal. Now, oftentimes you'll hear me say it's not personal, but in this instance, that is actually the problem. It's not personal. It's not personalized, not only to you, but your own specific thought pattern. That is the challenge you are trying to overcome. Okay. So that's the first thing. It's not personal. It's not personal enough, and it's not personalized to the thing that you are being challenged with. So that's number one. Number two, it doesn't actually address your specific desired result. It doesn't actually address your specific desired result. It is too general, oftentimes, in the idea of like, life is good and people are kind. Very nice to say, very nice to continue to repeat to yourself in more of a mantra behavior. However, that won't really give you the shift of consciousness you're looking for because it is too generic, right? So it's not specific enough. Now, what is the problem with that? Like, don't we want to believe that people are kind? Don't we want to believe that life is for us and everything's working out? Yes, 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 we do. And if that is the only challenge you have, right, is believing in that, that particular affirmation may actually help you. However, chances are the reason you're going to affirmations, if we're honest, if you and I are honest with each other, is because you have a specific need or desire that you are trying to achieve, right? It's something specific to you. Like we said, number one, it has to be personal and personalized. And it ultimately has to be something that you are specifically looking to change or have or be or create. Now, the third reason that affirmations don't typically work is because people don't actually use them properly. They don't actually use them properly. They don't use them the way they're intended. So it's one thing to just have an affirmation on your desk. It's another thing to actually practice intentionally retraining your brain around that thought or idea. So, an affirmation randomly seen at intermittent times is going to be so much less effective. First of all, it has to have number one and number two, but it's going to be so much less effective than one that you specifically tailor to your personal needs with your ultimate desires that you actually spend time retraining your brain with. So you have to take the time to work the affirmation. So that's the third reason that probably more likely than not, your affirmations haven't worked in the past. Now, the fourth thing is that, like anything, and this one, I think sometimes, people will say like affirmations. This is one of those common thoughts about affirmations is like, what we repeat, right? What we repeat is what we kind of start to believe. So that's definitely true. And there's a way to do it and a specificity of doing it that will actually help anchor that expression of repetition into your subconscious mind, not just your conscious mind. So, how you access the opportunity to do the repetition will make a difference. Now, the fifth one is going to seem perhaps a little odd, but it's something that I think, again, kind of ties back to the idea of not having something personalized for you, is that it has to move you. Having an affirmation that doesn't actually give you any sort of feeling, right? Good or bad, doesn't have any kind of energetic shift in it when you say it, is not effective, right? So that's kind of go back to the idea of like, it's nice to think that everyone's nice or people are always kind or love is all there is, right? It's nice to think that. Does it actually move you? Are you emotionally moved by the thought of it? If you are not, chances are that affirmation will not work for you. Or the work it would take to make it work for you would be very lengthy. So, how would you like it if I shared with you a technique that I've trained my clients with and about and for over the last 30 years? Because it's something that I teach in my book, The Power Plan, and it's called Power Affirmations. And the reason we call them Power Affirmations is it addresses these five issues. So you can probably guess right now that the first thing you need to do is make sure that the affirmation you are creating is personalized to you. So oftentimes when we're doing this and we're working on this in a group, I will say to people, start easy, right? Make this simple on yourself, especially if you're just getting started. Take an affirmation and make sure it's addressed to you, like it's spoken from yourself. So typically we say, like, I am, I have, I will, I do. Like, make it so that you're actually in the affirmation itself. So I always have money whenever I need it, right? Make sure that you are personalizing the affirmation to you. Second, right? So the second thing is make sure that the thing that you are actually creating with your affirmation is the thing you desire. Now, this is where it can get kind of tricky. So sometimes when we're thinking about like, what is the thing I actually desire, it can be hard if our thought patterns in the past have kept us from actually achieving it, right? So our brain wants to like go like normalize like the known. And so this is where you really want to work to create an affirmation that speaks to the desired result in a way that bridges that gap. So take that in mind. So you want to take it, make it personal. So make it about you in some fashion. So the words that you're writing as you're writing out your own affirmation, by the way, side note, is start with I, start with me, start with, whatever that phraseology would be. Start there. Then add in the thing that you actually desire. And if there is a gap, make sure that you keep that in mind when you write your affirmation. So the next thing, of course, that we talked about is like, how do affirmations actually work? How does this idea of creating something and saying something make a difference in your mind? How do you shift that thought? And we talked a little bit, and we'll talk in a minute about the repetition piece, but it's also how do you take in information? So what we share with our group and what I share with my clients is put an affirmation, not just one affirmation, right? Not like one little piece of paper, but put it in a large phrase, like a large piece of paper or a large post-it note, everywhere that you will see it on a regular basis. So have it in a location that you most often are spending time. So bathroom mirrors, I'm sure you've heard that. But here's some places you might not have thought of. The front of your computer, like at the top of your screen, on the top of your car steering wheel, like in the center there, if you're somebody who drives all the time. So they need to be somewhere where they're constantly being viewed, right, by your subconscious mind while you are out and about doing what you do. So whether it's, like I said, on the top of your computer, maybe on the fridge door, in your bathroom mirror, on the back of the front door when you go to leave every day, it's right there. I have this great story. A client of mine, we worked on them, and we usually give our clients when they show up, we give them about like a, well, I think they're like a 4x6 size post-it note, which is awesome. And we write really big so you can see it from across the room in a Sharpie, the affirmation. So once they figure out what the affirmation is, write it down in a big post-it note. And so this particular gentleman, his name was David, he was great. We were doing some big shifts. So each of the post-it notes that he got when he came to work with me, were helping him to shift certain thoughts and beliefs that he had that were really keeping him stuck. And so when we would do them together, we would, look at them and we'd have them up and we'd make sure that they were written properly. And he would take them home. And it turns out after this 13 weeks that we had worked together, he had every single post-it note on the wall of his living room. And when people would come over, they'd be like, "What is that?" And he was so proud because what he recognized was every time he looked at them, and telling people that this process was working for him, that it was actually shifting the way that he thought about these things in his life, that it became like a wall of awards, right? It was like these were the things that he had shifted in his life, and he was super happy and proud of them. So I love that story because it reminds me, like, it's not just about putting them in places where they're tucked away. You should see them regularly, and that was a pretty great example of that. Which leads us to, what do you do next? Like, what is the work of an affirmation? How do you work the process? So, of course, we talked about like making sure it's personal, making sure that the desired outcome is the thing you actually desire and want to have happen, and then putting them in locations where you can see them regularly. But this next step is often the one that people don't do. So I highly recommend, if you're really interested in making those shifts and having affirmations work for you and changing those subconscious neuro accesses that are happening. What was I saying? The neuroplasticity is what I wanted to say. That's not true. But to really change what is happening neurologically, that's what I was trying to say. Then make sure that you do this next step. And that is when you see them, right? So when they catch your eye, whether it's on the bathroom mirror, on your computer, at the back of your door, or on top of your steering wheel, you repeat the statement. And remember, it's an I statement, right? So it's like, I always make lots of money every month. Again, we're just making this one up right now. So if that's the case, then I want you to say it. Now, here's the kicker. Make sure that when you say it out loud and you say it with feeling, which is that last number 5, right? It has to feel true for you. Now, somebody's going to say, well, of course, I have an affirmation because I don't believe this yet. Yes. And we're going to act as if we do feel it. What does it feel like when you have that desired result? When you have the desired change of thought, how will you feel? So say it with that feeling at least 3 times, right? So the second it catches your eye, you stop and you say it at least 3 times. Okay. And then last part, but definitely not least, is the part that I just kind of shared a little bit already, which is remember the feeling part. When you create your affirmation, as I said, it should give you an energetic feeling. You should feel happy or proud or excited. And so the more you can tap into that vibration of feeling happy or excited or calm, whatever it is, or wealthy, whatever the feeling is, when you are doing it and you're reading it out loud to yourself, I want you to imagine that you have an old dial of like oh my gosh, I was gonna say a record machine. That's really makes me sound old. Even a radio dial, let's just say that. So something in your car, right? Like car dial, and you want to turn up the sound. So imagine that you're turning up that vibration of the feeling as you are speaking it out loud to yourself, connecting all of these dots, right? Making it personal, making sure that it is actually focused on what you desire, putting it in places where you will automatically and regularly run into it and see it, and then taking the time to work through the process of repeating it out loud, and then finally matching that talk with the energetic vibration of the having energy, right? So whether, like I said, whether it's going to make you feel wealthy or happy or calm, bringing that focus on moving the needle, right? Turning the volume up on the energetic feeling each time you say it. So if you do all of these things, here's what I will tell you has happened to my own clients in the past. They realize that as they continue to do the process, not only does the thing that they're struggling with shift, right? Suddenly, as they're doing the process over days or weeks, the idea of saying it out loud is followed by a feeling like, yeah, of course that's true. Of course, suddenly it becomes normalized. And when we normalize the shifted thought, it's ours. We own it. And whatever we're creating around that shift gets to happen even more easily. And so, if you are looking to really create a powerful shift in your mind and to change the way your brain reacts to an old story or an old pattern, I encourage you to try this process. Create your own power affirmation and then use it. Use it until it feels normal to think the new thought, to have the new experience, to be more confident, more wealthy, more excited or joyful about your life. I mean, think about it. What do you have to lose? This is Leah Dunlap. This is the Oracle on Purpose podcast. I'm so excited that you're here, and I want to continue to bring these little tips and tricks to you. So please keep coming back. Subscribe below, and we'll see you next time on the Oracle on Purpose podcast.